Hello everybody, I'm Cambridge English teacher Rory from studentlanguages.com, and if you want to know how to pass a CAE letter, that's a C1 Advanced letter, which is part 2 of the CAE C1 Advanced writing exam, then keep watching this video and I will show you how to do that. So first I just want to apologise to my loyal, lovely viewers for not having made a video for the past couple of weeks. What I've been doing is I've been actually doing a few updates to my website. So for example, I have recently added a new page which is just full of resources. So there's resources for the reading paper, use of English paper, speaking paper, listening paper, writing paper. So hopefully that'll be a really useful page for you guys, and I will put a link to this page in the description with this video. But I've also been travelling around Wales with a few friends, doing a bit of hiking up and down some mountains. And unfortunately, even though it's the middle of August, it's quite rainy and dreary. If you don't know that word, look it up. Dreary here in the UK at the moment. But I figured it could be a good day to make a video. And I'm going to base this video, as I said, on my CAE letter. And I've actually just made a new page on my website. So what I recommend doing when you watch this video is to also go to this web address, and I will put a link in the description with this video as well, because on this page you will find loads and loads of information to help you pass the CAE letter writing, and you will also find this video on this page. Okay guys, and don't forget to watch until the end of this video, because at the end I will show you how you can access the C1 Advanced, that CAE video course, completely free. Okay, so just to tell you quickly about the format of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to show you my 6 steps for what you should do before the exam, and then I'm going to tell you guys the 8 steps that I recommend you follow while you are in the exam. Okay, and just quickly before I get started, if you like this video and you want other students to find my work, please give the video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would really help me, and it will help other students like you to prepare for this exam. So let's get started. Before the exam, I have 6 tips. Tip number 1 is to watch my video and to understand the examiner's marking criteria. Now I will put a link to that video above me, and I will also put a link to where you can watch this video in the description below. The examiner's marking criteria is the same for every different C1 Advanced type of writing. Whether it's a letter, a proposal, a report, etc., the criteria they use is the same. So watch that video and understand it, because if you understand what the examiners want to see and how they mark your writing, you will be able to get better marks in the exam, because you will be able to tick those boxes for what the examiners are looking for. And again, on my CAE letter page, you will find some critiques of real students' writing with my thoughts written on this example examiner's assessment scale. So have a read of that, because that will be really useful for you. So that's tip number 1. Learn the examiner's marking criteria. Tip number 2 is to read and understand what Cambridge English say about a C1 Advanced letter. So what I've done for you again is I've actually gone and found this information from the C1 Advanced Handbook for Teachers, which I'll put a link to in the description with this video as well. And in there's loads of useful information. But what I have done is taken the information about the letter and put it onto my website for you. So you can either go to my page and read this advice, or I will give you a very quick summary of the advice right now. So for every CAE writing, it's really, really, really important to know who you are writing to. Who is the target reader? Who is going to read your writing? And so for a letter, maybe you will need to write to the editor of a newspaper, the director of a company, maybe to a friend or to a peer, or maybe to the principal of a college, for example. So you need to identify who this person is and write your letter accordingly, because depending on who that target reader is, will change whether you write formally or informally. Okay, and the second main piece of advice, which I will read from the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers, is that letters and emails as well, you might need to reassure somebody, to correct a misunderstanding, or even to justify a course of action. So those are 3 typical things you might need to do in the exam. So again, that is to reassure somebody, to correct a misunderstanding, or to justify a course of action. And depending on which of these elements are your main focus will also depend what type of language you use. And if you go to my CAE letter page on my website, I test your understanding of these ideas, and I also show you some useful vocabulary for both informal and formal letters. Whew. Okay, so that was a long tip. That was tip number 2 for before the exam. Tip number 3 before the exam: practice, practice, practice. Now, I recommend getting a course book to do this because you can rely on the materials and you have everything there for you. And if you want to know a good course book to use, I made a CAE book review, and I will put a link to that above me, and I will put a link to that in the description with this video. So practice, practice, practice is tip number 3. Okay, and tip number 4 is to practice in the same conditions as in the exam. So if you are doing a computer-based exam, practice writing on a computer. If you are doing a paper-based exam, practice writing with a pen or pencil. And connected to this is tip number 5. So time yourself during your practice. Give yourself 45 minutes because this is what you will have in the exam, and stick to this. Don't write for longer than 45 minutes. And my suggestion for those 45 minutes is 2 minutes to read the question and underline the most important words, 5 minutes to write a plan for your answer, 30 to 35 minutes to write your answer, and 3 to 8 minutes to check through your work at the end. And when you check through, you should look that your ideas are easy to follow and that there is a clear flow throughout your writing. And again, I go into more detail with example plans on my CAE letter webpage, so check that out. Then, once you've finished your example writing, you should see how much of a page it takes up. And then you should count how many words you have written. And if you have written the correct number of words within that 220 to 260 word limit, then you can see how much of a page you have written, and you can see how much of a page you need to write in the exam. This is the same for paper or computer. If you see how much of the page your writing takes up, then you don't need to waste time counting words in the exam. I advise you not to count your words in the exam, but to have a good idea how much 220 to 260 words takes up of your page. This practice will also give you an idea how quickly you need to write in the exam. Okay, and tip number 6 before the exam is to look at some of the most common mistakes and errors that students make at C1 Advanced. And I have a playlist for this, but I also have several pages on my website, and I will put a link to those pages in the description with this video. Okay, so let's quickly recap those 6 points for before the exam. Point number 1, watch the examiner's marking criteria and understand it. Tip number 2, see the advice that Cambridge English offer for writing a letter. Tip number 3, practice, practice, practice. Tip number 4, practice in the same conditions, either with paper or with a computer. Tip number 5, time yourself during practice. Tip number 6, learn some of the most common errors that students make at the C1 Advanced exam. Great, now let's move on to my 8 points for in the exam. And the first few of these are connected to what I've already mentioned, so I will go through them very quickly for you. Tip number 1, take 2 minutes to read the question and underline the most important information. If you want to see me doing an example of this, check out my CAE letter page on my website. Tip number 2, identify the target reader. Remember, the target reader will determine the type of language you use and whether it's informal or formal. Tip number 3, take 5 minutes to plan your answer. While planning, think about the target reader, but also think how you can connect your paragraphs and main ideas together in a nice way. Tip number 4 is to spend 30 to 35 minutes writing your answer in the exam, and to practice this before so you know how quickly you need to write and how much of a page you need to write. Tip number 5, check to see if there is more than one element to your question. The question might ask you to write about 2 different points. Make sure you write about 2 different points in this case. You want to answer every part of the question that you are asked. Tip number 6 is to develop your ideas. If you write an idea or an opinion, make sure you give a justification. Make sure you say why. Why did I say that? And while you're writing, think about how you can link your ideas together. Tip number 7, think about the type of language you need to use depending on who the target reader is and what the question is asking you to do. Again, I have a CAE vocabulary section for letters, formal and informal, on my CAE letter page of my website. So go and check that out. Okay, and added to this, you should try to use some complicated or complex grammatical structures and vocabulary in the exam, because the examiners will reward you for this. Don't try to use them if you have no idea how to use them, but if you have a good idea, try to use some complicated grammar structures and vocabulary. It doesn't matter if you're not perfect, but if you give it a good attempt, you will be rewarded for this in the exam. And finally, tip number 8, when you are reading through your answer at the end, save 3 to 8 minutes to do this, and focus on making sure the overall meaning of your points is obvious to the reader. Okay, I'm not going to repeat those again because you can go to my website and read them for yourself, and I'll put a link showing you which web page to go to here, and you're probably tired of listening to me now anyway. But what I will say is thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it and you want to help other students like you to find my work, then please give it a like and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. At the time of making this video, I'm very close to getting 1,000 subscribers, and every subscriber means a lot to me. You can also press that bell notification, and then you can receive notifications when I release new videos, which could be really useful for you if you are going to do the exam soon. Okay, and I also advise you to sign up to my free CAE video course, and when you do this, I will add you to my email list and we can talk and ask each other questions, and I can help you more to pass this exam. So I will put a video up here for you now showing you how to access this free video course. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again with my next video in a few days. I've been Cambridge English teacher Rory from studentlanguages.com. Bye bye.